It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all wanna ring. Yeah, we all wanna be free.
I'm sorry. I'm watching my man Anthony on the side back there. It's so miserable looking at his face. How unhappy he is at this 6 start. 1-6, folks. Here we go. We're gonna have fun today on the podcast. We're gonna have some fun because it's been a long season already. How you doing, man? I can't hear you, buddy.
I'm trying to find the happiness, Mike. I really am, and I'm just like, I'm sick and tired of coming on these streams and like been feeling bad. I just want 1 week where I can come on and be happy and be, proud. And after 30 minutes today, I thought, yes, this is going to be the stream. We can go on, we can be happy. And then 30 minutes later, I'm like, I've just watched the Minnesota Vikings game all over again. I've just seen the same old story for the bazillionth time. And I'm sick and tired of being unhappy. I just want to come on and praise this team. And I can't. And it infuriates the hell out of me.
So we're going to break down this game. We're going to have fun today. We're going to talk about how this game happened. If you don't know, Lions took a L 27-31. This is definitely a tale of two halves, Anthony. One half, the Lions offense, they look great. The second half, they don't live. The Lions defense looks like absolute butt cheeks through all quarters. What is your initial thought when you think of this game?
I think it's tale as old as time, isn't it, at this point, Mike? We can't get a full game out of them. And, if we can only get one side of the ball playing well, we can't get a full game out of them. If both sides of the ball are playing well, we can't get a full game out of them. And it's infuriating. That first half, we looked great. The offensive drives, we didn't even have like a third down till the third or fourth drive, did we? We were getting long runs to start off, opening up the play action pass book. Goff airing it out downfield accurately, looking good. Miami had nothing to stop us in that first half, and we just sliced through them at will. So why in the second half do you come out and false start penalty, behind the chains? You stop running the ball. You take your good running back out. You put your bad, he's meant to be our good running back, but you're putting a running back who doesn't want it. He did not want it at all today, DeAndre Swift. You start falling behind the chains. You start playing into Miami's hands. They make adjustments. They stop us scoring. And the defense may as well just not have bothered playing today because of how good it was. And the rookies played really well, and I'll give my due to the rookies, but this defensive scheme, the coaches in charge of this defensive scheme have a lot of answering to do because it never, ever looked like they were going to get a stop today, ever. And it took some really good plays from some of our rookies, which are not scheme related, to give us a chance. And I'm tired, Mike. Is it too much to ask for my team to play 60 minutes of football? If that is too big a request, then I will withdraw it and I will stop moaning.
The Detroit Lions, they have some issues with these second half adjustments. And this is something that Herman Moore, who's going to be on in a little bit, has talked about endlessly on this channel, how it is very concerning that we do not know how to adjust at all in the second half. Dominant offense in the second half, Anthony, penalty. Like, we're not even going down deep. 3, underneath, screen. What in the hell is going on with Ben Johnson in the second half?
I don't know. And like you say, why is such indiscipline creeping into your team after a half when they've been flawless? First half, completely flawless. The offensive line looked dominant as it should do against the pass rush. I don't rate very highly. It looked great, created running lanes, just did everything it needed to. And then it comes out and commits 3 penalties in a row. Is that on a coach or is that the players? Is that player mentality? Taylor Decker should not be giving away those penalties. Penny, I know he's only a second year and there's mistakes, and I don't really blame him too much because he's had a really good year, but these are kind of the cornerstones you're counting on to be solid for you. And when they're letting you down, it doesn't really help. And like I say, why was Jamal Williams removed? Jamal Williams had a really good game and he wanted it. He was not afraid to get in there, take hits, move chains, get those extra hard yards. And then we put Swift in, who didn't want it. Not one bit. Was not interested in trying to go after contact. And you saw the amount of times he went to the ground before anyone touched him. I think he just was not ready. So why are we putting him out there? Why are we not using anyone else? It's infuriating because again, I don't know. I can't. I'm beginning to get to the point where I can't explain it now. Why do you go from so
the
good?
Same thing every week, literally.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. It is so funny because if you're watching the game like I was, you could feel the energy in the first half. But when the second half started, it was gone. It was completely deflated before even one snap took off. And I was thinking in the back of my head, I said, this is done. Even not a single snap was taken. I said, oh, my God, it's done. And then we seen it. The offense couldn't move the football. Jamal Williams did want it. I love what he was doing in the game. He really showed that he wanted to be a force in this game. He was very active, very strong, very physical. DeAndre Swift, I don't know about you, but he didn't want to play. I just feel like he didn't want to play in the game.
No, 100%. The amount of times he got the ball and he would sort of hang in the backfield looking for a lane, and he'd run out wide and he was looking for a lane, and if he couldn't find one, he'd just run straight out of play. He'd go to ground so someone could lay a hit on him or anything. That's not the DeAndre we know. The DeAndre we know is aggressive. He gets in there, he knows where the holes are, he takes them with no fear, and he's coming off double injuries. He's not played for a while, and it's like he didn't look like he wanted it, and that's a shame, but maybe that's on the coaching staff for bringing him back too early. They should know what sort of mindset he's in. They should have seen and pulled him out the game after some of those. Bring Jamal back. Why is he not playing? And
make Jamal the starter, man.
Exactly. I want to give props to Jamal. I mean, he's got 8 rushing touchdowns on the season now, most that a Lions player's done in some time. I think he broke some form of record in this one, if I remember rightly, but he turned up when we needed him, and I'm really happy for that. But again, why are we then splitting carries with someone else? Why not just keep him? I said in the first half, this is perfect for us and DeAndre. We don't need him. He's not needed in this game. I know he got the touchdown pass and that, but we didn't need him in the rushing game. Just keep using Jamal. Keep Swift healthy for another week. Give him another week to recover from his injuries. But it's like we forced him in there. And I don't get it. And it just was part of many things that led to the collapse in that second half. So there are questionable things to be had here. I mean, the fourth down call at the end is questionable as well. I don't know why we're throwing so deep. I mean, I kind of get why they're doing it, but at the same time, I think it's ill-advised. Try and get that last drive, I started to get a bit of hope back. We were draining clock, getting the yardage, running the ball down. I thought, one more score, we could win this. And then it just kind of ended on a bad call. And that seems to be our thing.
Fourth and
Whether
2.
it's one bad call from the coaches, one bad play from the players. That seems to, it's fine margins.
It's always
but
that.
We're
always that.
always, but the thing is, we're always on the losing side of those fine margins.
Every time.
All right if you win games. But
and there's no excuses, man. Like,
No.
I don't want to hear, we didn't have, we have Swift in this game. Okay, we had Amon-Ra St. Brown in this game. We're generally pretty healthy in this game. We didn't score a single point in the second half. Okay, coaching. Well, we can't make coaching errors. What defensively has anybody seen to think that this coaching staff knows what the hell they're doing? It's in the second half adjustments is absolute garbage. I don't even nothing works right. It's the craziest damn thing there, Anthony.
Did you ever feel like the defense was in this game, Mike, because
No.
I didn't. I never thought the defense was in this game, and people go, we got a turnover. That's all on Kirby Joseph. That's not coaching. Kirby Joseph hit that receiver like a freight train and knocked it out, but you can't credit coaching with that. That was a young guy making a play. You know, Malcolm Rodriguez getting in on sacks, he gets in on fumble recoveries. He's doing his best out there that he can, but it's not on coaching. You know, it's just individual young guys making plays. What were we doing? Did we ever feel like we were going to get to Tua? The amount of times we got burned over the top on 3rd and longs, same ball to Waddle, Jalen Waddle, every single time. Why is he stood in 10 yards of space on a 3rd and long? Why have we got 5 defenders sat in zone coverage, nowhere near the man, just sat there twiddling their fingers while he goes and makes a catch? You could put one man, you could put a bloody scarecrow in the middle of that defense in that one spot. He would have got closer to making a pick than our guys did, our actual living, moving guys. And that's how frustrating this was. Aaron Glenn did nothing in this game, and I mean nothing. Now, it did not help that the refs were in garbage again. Teron Armstead was carrying Aiden Hutchinson round like he was a teddy bear at a carnival and not getting called for it. But still, even with that, Aaron Glenn did nothing in this, and my confidence in him has been severely, severely shaken because it was like the Seahawks game. No adjustments. Nothing that made the offense think, we need to do something a bit different here. Nothing that made them panic. I never felt like that, Miami offense panicked at all. And you can't have that. It's unacceptable. And I don't care about levels of talent and that. Every team in this league is winning but us. And teams with historically bad defenses, teams with no good players, teams who are going to be picking high in the draft. Why can they do it and not us? Something at coaching level here is not right, and it needs to be changed now.
It's 100% not right. And there's zero excuses that should be made for this game. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of each week there's something new that if we don't have this player or that, that's the reason why. You know, we're actually a really good team. No, we are what our record says we are. We are 1-6. We don't make any second half adjustments. What have we done? It's not even in the game that we won, in the Commanders game. The second half adjustments nearly killed us. We're close to being 0-7 for those adjustments. So at what point in time do we got to stop with the excuses and hold people accountable? It can't get any worse than this. It legitimately can't. We're not winning a single game. We all knew, everybody in the fan base that was watching this game knew we were going to lose this game as soon as the second half started. You just knew it. You knew the adjustments were going to be made, and they did exactly that. Now, Miami, on the other hand, did exactly the same thing they did in the first half and the second half. Same freaking play calling, deep throws, big plays to Waddle. What'd we do? We got extremely conservative, I felt like, in the second half. No deep passes really at all. TJ Hawkinson, why look at this guy?
Bad drops.
There was
some really
penalties.
Bad drops in this one. I mean, that Reynolds one before the half now looks very costly. But, I mean, Raymond dropped a simple one in their red zone, which we could have had. It just all fell to bits. And it's like, that's a mentality thing, that is. That's not talent. That offense showed you it had talent in the first half. I think in the second half, it's purely on mentality. When the momentum of a game goes against them, they don't have the mental fortitude to fight back. And I hate saying this. I do. I want to praise this team. I want to praise the good aspects of this. Because I was jumping up and down in my living room in the first half. I was delighted with what I was seeing on the offense. And that is what I want to focus on. But if I'm doing that, I'm doing a disservice to everybody who listens to these things. Well, they want your opinion on it. It's, where is the mental fortitude to stand up and be countered when your team needs you? Yes, you've got 7 points in the first half. Does not excuse you from getting zero in the second. All you need is one touchdown. One touchdown and you win this game. One. Where is the mental fortitude of your offense? Where is the play calling on your coaching sidelines? Where is the adjustment? It's not there. And, I saw Campbell's soundbite, we're nearly there. No, Dan, we're not nearly there. It annoys me. I know we're losing lots of one possession games, but that's the thing. We're losing one possession games. We're never winning them, and we're never putting ourselves in a position to win them. Like you said, Mike, it felt full on today. That's the feeling you get. So I think there's much bigger issues here. We have a team that don't believe in themselves to win games, and that's why I said the Minnesota game was so bad for us. Wait, that could derail the entire season because they should have won that, and they showed they didn't have the stones to go out and win it when they tried their best to hand it on a platter to us. And from then on, the confidence to go out and see a game out has just evaporated.
We talked about this was my Alamo game. This is the same thing for you. This is the game, and in how we lost, it's pretty devastating if you ask me. Literally scored 27 points in the first half, offensive juggernaut, and do butt cheeks in the second half. I don't know at this point what game we can look at and say, yeah, we can get a victory there. I really don't.
Again, it's not even talent anymore. Mostly, you look at talent and say, look, we've got the talent to win this game. And I generally think we have the talent in this team to beat teams like the Bears,
we should,
and the Panthers, and teams like that. But I question the mentality of this team now. I question their belief. I don't think it's as good as a lot of these other teams were facing. The Miami Dolphins never got phased today. Look how much we hit them with early on. It looked like we could score touchdowns for days early on. Did they let that phase them? No. They kept on hitting back. They kept on pegging us back. They kept us within range. That is what a team with a winning mentality does, with a belief in itself. It's all up here. It's all mental. And our team does not have it. And that gives us a severe disadvantage when playing all these teams around us. All these other teams, they think they've got things to play for. They don't want to draft high. They want to win games. They want to take progressions forward as a franchise. What do? We want to take progressions forward as a franchise, but our players keep blowing it because they can't play a full game. And again, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here criticizing the team and the players, but I can't not, because they are not giving us an opportunity to praise them because they can't do it a full game. And if you can't do it a full game, why are you here? I mean, Amani, again, sack him off. I don't care if we can't trade him by Tuesday. I cut him off this team. Brockers, get rid. I hope Brad Holmes wields the axe over these next couple of days and shows, it needs a hardline message to this team now that failure will not be tolerated and people need to be made examples of. Amani today was unforgivable. We need another corner next to Jeff, and it ain't him. And I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of having the players who are not on the winning team, who can't produce in the big moments. I want this franchise to win and do well so I can come on these streams and be happy with you. And we can do a little dance and a jig and point out all the positives.
I want them to win. I want them to be good. Like, this is terrible. Not is it just terrible for, it is, I'm going to be honest with you guys, for content creators, it's terrible when the Lions lose. It is. Yeah. It sucks. The views suck. Everyone's negative. Nobody likes it. But for the fan base, I want to win. I want to progress. I'm tired of being a loser. Okay? It sucks. Yeah. It absolutely sucks. We want this team to win so bad. But to be honest, there's so many bad things going on, you have to point it out. It has to get corrected.
Of course
I've been saying, Ben Johnson, there's a problem with this guy. Everyone keeps saying we have the greatest offense, the top offense. I said, no, we're bad on third down, and now we're seeing this. We're seeing the last 3 weeks, this offense has issues in the second half. There's no adjustments. Been saying it for a while. Okay? There's a problem there. There's a problem. Defense, the whole thing is just garbage. I love seeing the development of young players like Kirby Joseph. I think you can look at individual performances and say, you want to know what? I like it. Malcolm Rodriguez, Kirby Joseph, Ada Hutchinson has some good plays here and there, Jeffrey Okuda. But overall, this defense is trash. It's trash. And Aaron Glenn, you might as well just sack him at this point. I'm done. You can't get worse than this. We have some talent to not be the 32nd freaking defense in the NFL. I'm sorry. We are better than 32nd with the talent-wise. You can't tell me that if if Aaron Glenn leaves, we just get worse. There's no way to get worse than this. We had, what, 2 punts? Or no, 1 punt in this game, and it was due to a screw up on Miami's offense with the penalty. And then the other one that wasn't a punt was a fumble. Trash.
I mean, exactly. And when you're coming, when year 3 is on the horizon of this regime, which it soon will be, I get you. You know, you love the young guys and what they're doing. I love the young guys and what they're doing. But if the only positive you can talk about on your team when year 3 is coming into view is individual player development of a few rookies, something is fundamentally wrong. When you can't talk about your vets standing up for you, when you can't talk about the mentality, the winning mentality taking a hold of this team, when you can't see the fight, the grit, the determination, the coaching, when you can't see any of that and year 3 is on the horizon, you've got to ask questions. I mean, me and you could have just come on here today and spoken for an hour about how great the offense was in the first half, and we could wax it up and be nice and great and stuff like that, but we'd be doing a disservice to everyone who listens to not point out the bad here. And these issues which have persisted for years now, for the entirety of Dan Campbell's tenure here. And I'm not knocking down at the minute, but there are issues which are still here. The way we're losing games, the way we disappear in games, the way we can't string a full performance together after a year and a half, and we're still struggling. I mean, it's concerning. I'm with you on Glenn. I think there comes a point now, he crossed his threshold today. I've seen 2 performances this year where teams have just made 0 adjustments in game. They've just done whatever the hell they want against us. And, you know, lack of talent be damned. He's got a lot of good young rookie talent in that team to work with. And even then, if you just scheme right, stop making the same mistakes all the time. When you're seeing the same 3rd down completions, the same fucking bootleg where Tua, you know, he runs out to the left, finds his man. Usually it was Tyreek Hill in that situation. Same play every time. The amount of time we bite on fakes and stuff like that. Tell your team to be more disciplined, to stop biting on them, to stay where they're meant to, make the plays. He's not doing it. And, you know, I got questioned on this on my pod. Someone just went, who would you replace him with? Oh, all right, so you just go ask me that now. I'm going to go out there and scout who there is now. But if you keep him, just because you think there's no one better, that is no better than acting. You know, inaction is the worst type of action. And at this
$2
point,
super
what is
from
he showing
JP.
us?
Huge shout out to you. Says, keep doing the great work, guys. Thank you for the super. Really awesome. You are awesome. We got Lion Rumble, man. What's going on, man?
Hey fellas, what's going on, man?
Thoughts of the game?
Boy, I feel like the players really let Dan down this week. We all know Dan started in, Miami. I felt like they should have really rose to the occasion this week, and unfortunately, I think the players let all of us down. Lack of communication in the secondary. You had a wide open tight end. Seemed like nobody was up for the challenge. I expect more from the secondary, especially with Akuda being the so-called leader in the secondary. He needs to line up with Tyreek, and if he needs help, communicate that. Let your team, your secondary know, hey, I'm going to need help with this guy. But again, I heard, I think Dan was asking them to be more physical, and again, I don't know why I don't know why they're not more physical. But all in all, I felt like the players let not only the team down, but the city and us fans down, because this one should have been circled on the calendar, especially with the history that Dan Campbell has with the Miami Dolphins organization. So I don't know, man. It's getting to the point where it's like we absolutely have to address this roster. Um, we just have to cut ties with players at this point, get whatever we can for some of these players that were drafted from the previous regime, and give these guys the tools and picks and everything they need in order to build the program that they want. I don't see anybody really on this defense that is feared from other teams. And I really wish we had that alpha on defense that, could rile up the guys. Man, unfortunately, I don't
don't.
see it. And even
Yeah.
Goff. Goff should be the leader. He should rile the guys up. He's got a C on his jersey, but he can't put the team on his back. He can't lift them up. It's I don't know, man. The coach can only do so much. He's not out there playing. He's preparing these guys um, to play on the field, and unfortunately, I saw a lot of plays where there was no communication with the secondary. Like the tight end was wide open. Malcolm went off the tight end to go guard Tyreek Hill, which he should have been doing. But there's no communication. The tight end walked in there, and here we are. So I figure I had to jump on here. You guys have been killing it, man. You guys are always, 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 man. I look forward to hearing these, even if they're not live. Go
Well,
back
it
and
sucks
chime
because
in.
we
You guys
don't
have
want
been
to be
killing it.
negative. We really don't. But dang,
Right.
man. It's difficult
Yeah.
because all we do is lose. Oh, and we got the legend in here. Real excited. We got my man. We got, let me fix this up really quick. We got Herm. What's going on, Herm?
Hey, you know what? I'm doing like most of you. I'm sitting here just trying to break it down and figure out what happened today. I mean, obviously we know what occurred in the game, but really, where is this team going to go now that the losses continue to mount? They came in with healthy players and it seemed like it was going off to a good thing, but then it just fell back into what it's been all year. Two different halves of football.
Herm, second half adjustments. You've been talking about it since you've started this channel. That has been concerning. Again, 0 points in the second half. What is going on here?
I think this is a team that plays really high on emotion. They play well from in front. We saw some resilience and we saw some ability to come back whenever they fall behind early in the season and to continue to compete and make some adjustments and actually apply those and see the results. And now it seems like it's just being this is a team that doesn't play well in front, doesn't play well behind. And right now it's in need and in search of a lot of answers to a lot of the problems they have. I mean, right now, they get outplayed, but I felt that they matched up well against Miami. Obviously, the offense for Miami was really, they didn't get off to a great start, but then once they found rhythm, you saw that this wasn't something that they felt they couldn't turn on at any given time. They had to overcome some penalties, overcome some mistakes in the first half, make those adjustments, and then just apply them. For the Lions, it was, how do you go in, keep the momentum at halftime, come back out with a game plan in the second half that still stayed, fairly aggressive, which I thought they did defensively. However, offensively, it just seemed like it just shut down completely, and that's something that I didn't expect to happen for the Lions offense, especially given the number of guys that came back healthy.
Got a question here from the chat, from the Dern. It says, Herm, why hasn't Glenn been relieved of his duties yet like Lynn was last year?
With Aaron Glenn, looking at it and probably trying to evaluate where are the problems. Is it more personnel driven or is it scheme? Some will argue right now that it's scheme, but I have a problem with it only because the Lions have played very well football for a half on defense in most of the games, at least for a half, and then something just happens. So it's got to be part coaching, it's got to be part players. There's got to be accountability that's there on both ends because you can't have that type of success. And whether it's the third and fourth quarters or whether it's the first and second quarters of football games, and then just completely disappear for 2 quarters, additional quarters in a game. So there's some issues there that need to get addressed. But I don't think he needs to necessarily be relieved during the season. Will he be evaluated during the end? Yeah, but I just say this: if Aaron Glenn leaves, he's gonna get another job. I don't think that it's all one-sided here on his end. There's just got to be some increased talent. And there's just got to be some other things that happen from leadership standpoint on the field that will offset what he can't do from a box.
Ant-Man, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I didn't get a chance to tell you last week because you froze up a belated happy birthday. I hope you had a really nice day for that there. Is this a mentality issue now with the players? We've talked about the quality and about quality and the depth in this team, but we saw the offense in the first half today rip Miami to shreds. They look really good in what they were doing, but we've seen it too often where a unit works well in a half, doesn't come back out for the second half. They can't adjust. Your big players make mistakes, all the penalties we had in the second half, etc. And we've seen it all season. Could this be a case of it's more a mentality issue with these players now rather than a skill issue? And if it is, how can you fix that? Because these players look like they don't have it in them to go out and win games, and it seems like a big problem to have.
Well, it's a couple areas there that I would look at. One, I do think there's a mentality issue that's happening with them. There's some things they're going to have to overcome so that the anxiety isn't there, that if they're playing ahead, that they're going to have to hold a team off versus continue to apply pressure and be able to shut them down. This is a team that definitely needs upgrading talent. I don't think there's any doubt there along the defensive line, as you start to look at your linebacking unit, even though there was some good play today, but you still got to look at areas to upgrade. I think secondary, you still need to try and find those man-to-man cover type guys like they've had in the past. But without that, this team, I think the biggest thing that I see, and this is coming from what I see and what I feel and what I kind of know from being out there, is that you got to have on-field leadership. You must have a player or players or unit that says we're the tone setters, and we're the ones who are going to take the accountability, or I'm the one that's taking the accountability for making sure that we're lined properly, that we're held accountable, and that someone's leading on the field.
What do you got there, Rumble? Question?
Wow, Herm just hit everything I've been preaching, man. Again, happy belated birthday to you, sir. My question is, moving forward, what sort of talent do you see in this upcoming draft that you would like the Detroit Lions to go out and really try to snag at all means?
Position.
Or a position.
But on the offense, on the offensive side, is only one position that I see as just kind of being really big on the radar, and that's the quarterback position. Not that Jared Goff is playing poorly or that he's a concern. I mean, in fact, right now I don't see him as being a concern as much as I think he helps solidify that offensive unit because his confidence is there and his plays there. But I think getting a quarterback a young quarterback that you can start to get ready to play, even if they come in play ready, you have the option to go to that player at any given time. But there needs to be some attention there. And then when I go defensively, I'm spending all my money and I'm pretty much heavy in that area. Right now, we don't know what's going to happen with the secondary. I think on the defensive line, there still needs to, you got to have pressure coming from two sides. It can't come from one side because you can shift the offensive weight and the scheme to offset that player. You can go away from that player if you have a dominant pass rusher. And then if you're not getting pressure up front, then it keeps you soft and vulnerable to the run. So I think there needs to be an upgrade still along the defensive line. The linebacking unit, they still need to upgrade that area for depth. And then in the secondary, you still got to find either a safety that is just really dominant and that controls, because typically your safeties or your linebackers, someone controls the defensive side of the ball. And if you can't find it there, you got to have a corner that you can just let run and be confident in locking them up with player to player, especially if there's offensive output in the receiver unit. So, I see this team still needs to get some players. It's a good question, but it's no easy answer. And then trying to get it right in one draft, I just don't think that's going to happen to fill all those holes.
A member to this channel says Herman looks like he's 35 or something. That's from Randall Cook. Are you a vampire or something like that to where you don't age?
No, man, it's called Just for Men. And if they want to send us some money, man, to get a plug there. No, but I try and eat right. I try and do whatever I can to not, I'm not playing football anymore, so I don't want to sit around not doing anything and lose my physique or anything like that. And it's not vanity as much as it is just being healthy. And I enjoy what I do. I'm not a vampire, but you know what? I will say this. I'm up all the time, man, at night. I really am. And I feel like I need to sleep during the day. But they say that about Lions anyway. We're 23 hours out of the day, and maybe that's what's happening right now. I don't know. We need to figure out what that 1 hour is that we're not sleeping.
So we're sitting at the first pick in the draft right now. We're still there. We pick one right now if you look at Tankathon. What are you going to do with the first pick in the draft if you have the option of any position in all of college?
Without, and it's not pleading ignorance right now, but without knowing who the top available quarterbacks would be, but my understanding is going to be a draft that's going to have some in there. I'm looking at quarterback if I have a high pick and I'm able to get one. And then from there, I'm defense, 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 defense. and I mean, it's just, I really am. Who knows what's going to happen with Coach Aaron Glenn? I still believe that he is the right guy, but I do believe this is going to be a learning curve and lesson for him as well. That there can be a player or two that changes the dynamics of your team. There could be a opportunity that you're not an opportunity, but is a circumstance where your team does really well with perceived less talent, and now that you supposedly have an upgrade in talent, now you're sitting at the bottom of the NFL in defense. That's a humbling experience, which it means there shouldn't be any complacency, not only from the coaches but the players, that you have to go out and earn it every year, and it's not going to get easier for this team. If anything, what we saw, and even looking at Tyreek Hill, when you got one player that can completely change the course of your game, or you have someone that it just seems like even if you're double covering, you see him coming in. Imagine a team that you play that has 2 or 3 players of that caliber, but they're in different positions. That tells you how close or how far your team is away from being able to be competitive. And I just don't see that right now with the Lions. So if I'm looking at the draft, it's got to be a quarterback, and then from there go heavily in investing into defense. And then we haven't done anything really, I think, in free agency that has really stood out in the past years that has really led to much. It seems like that just seems to be a journey step for most players coming into play with the Lions through free agency, and then they're gone after a year or two, and there's no stability or foundation that gets developed from there.
What do you got there, Roar at Lions UK?
So, if you're Brad Holmes at this point, I mean, you've got the trade deadline coming up in a few days. You're seeing what's sort of unfolding right now. He's got, a reputation, him and Dan have been player-first guys. They've created a good, harmonious atmosphere. They've installed the culture, which is great. But do you think now, especially if you're Brad Holmes, you need to see him start to become maybe a bit more ruthless with his players? Brock has been a healthy scratch 2 weeks. He's meant to be one of your leaders on this team. He ain't doing the job. Amani today, meant to be one of your senior players. 2 silly penalties. That offside line, you can't do that as a guy. Is it time Brad Holmes needs to start sending a message out to some of these players, wielding the hammer, whether it's trading, cutting, showing the fans, and showing the fans that obviously he's not accepting of this, and showing the locker room that this is not good enough? Or does he kind of have to stand pat at the minute and just see this out?
He's going to probably have to see it out. I don't see where he can make moves that a team would be willing to trade him a value for value because of what they have to offer. I don't think they have anyone or many players that, from a trade standpoint, it's worth the transaction. Versus, you're going to be starting over even deeper because you're going to probably get a player that's in parallel to that capability. But I don't think you're going to ever be trading away, especially the Lions right now, because they lack so much depth in different places. You're going to be trading any significant players. So therefore, you're not going to get any in return that are significant unless you can find a team that's willing to make a mistake in value and trade. The other part I see with the Lions is that they just don't command the attention or attraction, I think, from free agents or even from those who are part of a trade that would probably say, I'm not going there where I think my career is going to become a graveyard just to go, because the money isn't probably going to be the same. They're making a parallel move in money. So they're just in a bad conundrum. They're in a bad spot when you don't have the coaching staff to lean on. I think they're likable. But I don't think if you're looking for players who are serious about winning right now and looking at the Lions and saying that's where I want to go, I don't think you find the attraction of talent that says that's where a place I can go and either elevate my career or they're ready to take that next step. And I know they are not going to be sitting there and thinking that all of a sudden it's just going to change because you got a handful of different guys that left other teams that wasn't working out in the middle of the season. So unfortunately, it's another draft play. Can they make a bounce? If you look at the run that they would have to make, it would be short of being a miracle. But can it be done? Yeah. But the teams they're going to be facing are going to be playoff contenders. They're going to be teams that are looking at possibilities of going to the conference championships in their conference, or being division champions, or being potential Super Bowl participants. So this isn't going to be an easy schedule that is unfolded for the Lions down the stretch. And I think it's making sure everyone's looking at it through the right lens. It's okay to be optimistic. I know the ownership has gotten on and talked about the movement, and that they've torn it all down, and it's going to be going. It's going to take a few years to build, but that's assuming that A, everyone stays healthy, B, you draft right, 3, you keep the coaching staff intact. I mean, there's just so many things that have to happen. You're selling something that is tough to sell in the capacity and what we're seeing right now.
Make sure you hit that like button, folks. We got 120 in the building with 27 likes. Smash that like button. It makes that non-vampire Herman Moore look really good, and that's always a good thing, because we don't want Count Hermula coming after you. What do you got there, Lion Rumble?
A couple questions actually. What I'm looking at as far as a fan, I have no alphas on either side of the ball. I got a guy in Jared Goff who probably wears a C on his jersey, but I have yet to see him lift the team up, put the team on his back, make adjustments at the line. I have yet to see him take command of the offense. And then on defense, I have a guy, Jeff Okudah, who was supposed to be this, budding star, who at times shies away from the opposing team's number one targets, receiver. And I really don't have an identity on defense as well. I have no alphas on either side of the ball. So I guess my question will be, with some of these players coming up, with a contract like Hawkinson, like Swift, do you see us re-signing these guys because they're going to want top dollar as they were drafted so high? And do you see a place for them out there in the trade market? Is there somewhere that a team desperate enough for a tight end is going to want to play ball with us?
I don't see that one happening as far as a trade with Hawkinson or something like that. The Lions would never put, I think, a player that has his ability and potential that they're still trying to extract out of him. When they made him a number one pick, first round pick, he was someone that they felt long term would bring some stability to a position that they felt had value. With that being said, the alphas on either side, or really in any phase of the game, it doesn't exist. And unfortunately for this team, it means that they are really stuck with the play calling in terms of how they perform. They're stuck with individual players having spurts or breakouts, but not necessarily being able to command the game. And it's not a question of if they're going to have a fantastic game or a breakout, it's when and how do you contain it. The Lions just don't possess that. They don't possess that in the skill position unit. And because of that, they have, plug and play kind of players, but they have those that really you can't define and say is a number one at their position, or a leader or a threat. I mean, I look at the running game as being really the most consistent piece that this team has had. We know this particular game against Miami, it was their first time failing to rush over 100 yards. But some of that, the production is still there. Williams had 2 touchdowns. They still running a combination of the players. Hawkinson's having a big day. Amon-Ra St. Brown is back. You're getting Raymond. You're getting all these other players in. But again, there's no dominant player or set that causes you to fear anything, and definitely not an alpha. And then defensively, Jeff Okudah was supposed to be that guy. They've had some players come in different spots among that defense that were going to be disruptors and also create havoc and create scheme change for the offensive opponent. But that hasn't occurred. If anything, teams have really used those players, the top players that the Lions say are going to be their leaders, and actually use that against them by exposing certain things about them or being able to shut down their effectiveness. So this is where you have to have some development. There's got to be some unit explosion. There's got to be an upgrade in definitely the talent, and whether it's growing from within or whether they get it from free agency, because it's just hard to find that player in the draft to come in as a rookie and all of a sudden you're the one that everyone is expecting to lead. And if your rookie is the one that you're expecting to lead your team in that capacity, you're probably in trouble anyway.
What can the Lions do going forward? This is, to me, this is a disastrous of a year. 1-6. I mean, we keep losing games close. This kind of does feel like the Minnesota Viking game that my man Ant-Man was talking about. What can the Lions do after this game? We got to face Green Bay at home. What are they telling? At this point, does people even listening to what's being said? Like, we got to fight hard. We're one play away. Or is that kind of just going blown over people's head as a player?
Yeah, the right now anything that is that has a cliche to it or something that is just those throwaway lines that we talk about is going to fall deaf, and it's not going to really have an impact. If anything, it's going to be a detriment because it's going to seem as though there's no plan, that there's no next step. You're going to want to go in and you want to hear either a player or players or units or your leaders on the field that are stepping up and saying, we are holding us accountable and here's why and how. But it's not just more of a person saying that. You got to believe that person has the ability to take you and elevate you, or they have the ability to have the coaches be like, look, you got to get him out of here and get somebody else in because we got to win. And if you think about that, you can look at teams and you look at the players where you say, if that player say we need to make some changes, that coaching staff, that offensive coordinator, somebody's making a change. That defensive coordinator, somebody's listening. I don't think you have that. I mean, pick a player. Who do you think could do that right now? Where the coach goes, what, shut up and sit down, and or I'll go get somebody else to play. No, I mean you don't have that. And when you start to look at what's a championship, what do we want here? Do we want mediocrity? Do we want to continue to say next year? And I know people want, they say, hey, well, don't be too harsh. It's rebuilding. No, man, you rebuild literally every year. And if you are a good, smart team, you're rebuilding every year. You're just rebuilding with either better foundation or blocks, or you're doing it by upgrading some new appliances. You're doing some upgrades that are going to give you better performance and efficiencies or something. But you're not completely going, knock the house down. Let's dig up the foundation, and now let's start to lay it brick by brick again. I mean, you're gonna have settling, you're gonna have cracks, you're gonna have to figure out where water leaks are. You're gonna go through a long thing. If you've been a homeowner, right? No different than being an owner. Things are going to break, and you're gonna sit there and say, one, did I build it as solid as I could in the beginning? Did I make all the decisions in terms of who my electrician and my plumber, my general contractor, my landscape, everybody I know that's going to have to maintenance this? Do I have all the right people there to fix it? So when it goes wrong, I keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm not going to bat an eye because they're going to get up and ready to go. And then after that, what's going to be low maintenance after that? And yeah, I'm going to have to replace something here or there, but man, I'm not going to have to rebuild this whole thing. That's what we hear. That's what we are hearing that's coming from, different parts of this organization and from some parts of the locker room, that you don't want to hear those cracks in the foundation. You want to hear nothing but, what? If we can't get an upgrade here, we need to get somebody else in there that can do it. I want to hear that person come out and say that. I want to hear that player that comes out and says, with confidence, because they're so solid, and I'll stop being long with it, so solid in who they are and what they mean to that team, that they're willing to come out and tell it like, listen, we got to do better. Otherwise, we need to get people in here that can get it done. Period.
I'll let Ant-Man go here in a second, but I got one question here to follow up. Is the reason why, because I have been told this multiple times, the reason why free agents won't come to Detroit because of the fan base, because we're angry and we get upset. We can't get angry or upset because it hurts the players, and we're the reason that the team loses. Is that actually justifiable, or do you think players don't actually pay no attention to what the fans are saying and they could care less?
Players don't care what fans are saying during the game, but players care about making sure their fans feel rewarded and have a team to cheer for. You play because you're professional, and you have passion for what you do. You play because you understand the importance of having a cheerful and a backing fan base that will travel when you go on the road, those that will follow you when things are getting tough, that gives you that extra motivation to get up. Detroit fan base is second to none, right? If I look at when I left and I went to play with the Giants, and there's no offense to them, I mean, I didn't want to play anywhere else. I wanted to stay and play with the Detroit Lions. I love the fan base. I love the passion that they have, but some may see it sometimes as wishy-washy or fickle in certain areas. But no, we're fickle on being fed the same stuff, and then get it, and some you're telling us something different, but we get the same results. I get that. I've been there now for 20 years. Yeah, believe it or not, 20 years, and it writes its own story. So there's something's got to change. You can't keep rinse and repeat and think you're going to get that. I'll say this last part. The fan base is outstanding. I think this is still a coaching staff I have no problem with. I still have confidence in. Are there some question marks on some of the decisions and calls that Coach Campbell has made this year? Yes. I think he would even acknowledge that. But do I think there needs to be an upgrade and that this team is more than just a draft away? Absolutely. So there's some realism that you have to stick out here and be honest with yourself, but at the same time, take accountability for why you have to sit there and have that type of message.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so obviously this has not been a great start to the season. There are a lot of fans now, and you see it out there, who are beginning to question really properly for the first time what's going on here, the direction the team's going and everything. And it's very hard to judge, obviously, the extenuating circumstances when they came in. The finances were in the bin, the talent wasn't there. There were a lot of overpaid players who needed shifting on. After what you've seen after 18 months, do you still believe heart in heart that this rebuild is going the right way and that fans should stick with this process?
I think the rebuild intentions are going the right way, and I'll explain. I think the intention is to do the right thing, to go get the right player, to make the right moves, to put the right talent out on the field that gives you the best chance of competing and winning. I just don't think there's been a plan that they've been able to execute through and through, meaning not just one player, not just a Brad Holmes, not just someone in the scouting department here or there. I mean, cohesively as a total team and a total unit. It just seems like there just seems to be some areas that are a little looser than others. You got to draft right. You got to have the right scouting. You have to have the right personnel that, in terms of your coaching staff, that has a proven record or that can develop talent and take talent that they have and motivate it to become leaders. You got to take these B players and make them A players, C players that will motivate themselves to be B players that you can then take from B to A. You got to have a plan. And right now, the plan seems to be to go out and do elementary things like don't make mistakes that shoot yourself in the foot. Don't go out and turn the ball over. Well, go out and play better and make some adjustments at halftime and play a second half of football or first half, really good at football, and make these adjustments. It's not that. It is go out and boss it up. You got to go out and say, you know what? You got to be winners. You got to know how to lead. We need leaders. We need playmakers. We need coaches that are willing to go out here and say, you know what? I took the chance I took, and I'll do it again if I have to, because that's what I believe in, and make it be known. We're all one. Not, well, maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe no, man. Listen, you gotta make it go. And I want to see where you don't make excuses. I want to see where you hold accountability. I want to see where you go out and you take games. You don't wait for people to give them to you, and you don't say I'm gonna try and hold off teams. That's when you got a championship caliber team. People, you can keep telling me all you want about where we are as a team. I've been on good teams, I've been on bad teams. And one thing I will say, in each phase, thankfully we had leaders that allowed us to bounce back, so that downside didn't last a long time. And now it's just how do you get that to resurface here? But you got to have individuals and people that either know how to do it or know how to get the people in here to get it done. It's the blueprints out there on how to get this done.
I mean, how do you? Sorry, Mark, I've got one more.
No, I was going to say, lastly, go ahead, man. Get up with the last question here.
So, You say, obviously, you need leadership in teams. Of course you do. You need the leadership to be able to go on to the next level. But you've rightly said that those free agents out there, the leaders, the guys looking for the big paydays, don't really want to come here because of the reputation, not winning, etc. But, you can only build through the draft so many times, once a year. You can only get so many players. It's hard to build natural born leaders, within a couple of years outside of drafts. How do you fundamentally fix the leadership problem in this Detroit roster if you can't go and get the free agents to do it? And a coach can't wait 5 years for his draft picks to become good and start bin those leaders. Is there any other way it can be done, or is this going to be a problem for some time?
It starts with, if you get players, you got to know the trajectory of that player. You got to know that you can develop that player from. You're not going to get all gems, and you're not going to get all A players. You can get, like I said before, you can get some Bs, you can get some Cs, you may even get some D type players that you got late in the draft, or that are trying to, get their career to jumpstart again or whatever. You got to have a plan start to finish on how and where they're going to be effective. It's not about bringing it in and their talent would ultimately make it work. This is a sport that is filled with a combination of effects and different techniques in terms of winning championships or being a talented team. And it comes with player development. It comes with communication. It comes with the right coaching and philosophy and staff and scheme. It comes with leaderships. It comes with leaders and owners who understand the game and understand what moves to be made to make this an attractive place to play that has nothing to do with being on the field. How do you treat players? How do you take and elevate them within the community, or give them other perks beyond just the game of football itself? Players are different these days. They're looking at it differently. They're looking at, if I go here, am I going to make this my home? Am I going to make this a place that I want to say, you know what, I'm going here to make it work no matter what? But right now we're just saying, hey, come here because we're rebuilding and you're part of something special. Man, you can do that anywhere. You can do that on any team. And then when you're talking about a market that doesn't get the visibility that you get with some of these other larger markets that have national presence and TV and coverage, you got to have that X factor or that plus factor as an organization to drive people here. And right now, you're showing many reasons to say not to come here, because it looks like it's just going to take too much time. And the people who will come here, they're probably coming because they're chasing the bag. They're coming because they're chasing the money. They're chasing the fact that they may be able to get an overinflated offer from an organization that is down on talent and down on the ability to be able to be competitive. You have to recognize all that, and that's a tight pill, man, to swallow. That's a big pill to swallow as an organization, but that's where you are. Who can fix it? Do you have the right people who understand the tenacity and understand the process that they have to go through to make this thing work?
Close this bad boy out, Herm. Give some fans some hope or some hate.
All right. Well, I'll just say this. I need to make sure, if you haven't already hit that like button or that subscribe button, man, you need to go ahead and do it now. So I'm trying to just get my blood pressure down. I'm trying to just, maybe you can help me raise a Go Fund Herman page so I can come back and play for the fans or something like that. I don't know, but
Hell yeah,
we got to stay optimistic as those who are truly in it for this. I love these players. I want these players to win. I want to see the fan base have some success. And right now it's looking a little bleak, but every week is a new, but it's going to take another year before we start to even see any movement. Yeah, a late surge it's got to be more than that.
I am with you, folks. I appreciate everybody hanging out, and Herm not being a vampire. I'm telling you, the guy looks younger than me. It sucks. It sucks. Happy Halloween to everybody and their kids out there. Make sure you guys have fun. It's going to be decent if you live in Michigan regarding the heat. With that said, folks, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Taking into your hands a plan your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder, and f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm f***ed off at these f***ing clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it.